Okay, good evening and welcome to Culinary Historians of Chicago, our monthly Zoom meeting. And tonight we're going to present one of Chicago's culinary icons, Gordon Sinclair.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, yes, sure.
Oh, who's in charge of showing the photos I sent you?
Gordon, that will be Kathy Lambrecht.
Okay.
And we're doing our introduction right now, and we'll.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. Okay.
You're worth the interruption. So tonight we have Gordon here. The reason we have Gordon is because was it over a year ago, there was a wonderful event held for Ina Pinkney. And Ina, I believe you're on tonight watching. So it's kind of because of you for triggering off the whole system that brought Gordon to us. There was an event held at Theater on the Lake and for Ina, and like the top chefs in Chicago were there. And I came to that, and who was there but Gordon? And I couldn't believe it because I'd seen him years ago.
Well, you thought I was dead.
I did. I did. I thought, is this an apparition?
I know it's an exaggeration. My existence is that I died a few years ago.
Or a hologram. I was talking to you, Gordon, and you said that you did actually say that you're still alive. So I thought, well, as long as he's alive, we got to get him sometime for.
Yeah, before it's too late. I agree.
Absolutely, it was time sensitive that we got you.
Yeah, so, you have to get me now. I'm not going to have an open casket.
No, but I hope I'm around because you're going to be around till at least 100 from what I've seen.
Oh yeah, I have that plan. Yeah,
I think so, but anyway, we're thinking about that, and then this wonderful Chicago food writer, Michael Gebert, we found out interviewed Gordon for a book that he's coming out with on an oral history of Chicago's restaurants. Mike is writing that for Agate Publishing. And he just had done an interview with Gordon, which Kathy told me about. And I thought, well, he'd be the perfect person to bring out the life of Gordon from Gordon. So Mike is here tonight and he's going to interview Gordon for us. I'll tell you a little bit about Mike, and Mike is then going to give you a little bit about Gordon's background and proceed to grill him for us. So Michael Gebert is one of Chicago's leading food.
I'm usually sauteed. I'm rarely ever grilled.
What are you, sauteed or? Oh.
I'm generally sauteed or poached.
And well seasoned.
Yes.
Yes. The poaching has. Yes.
It's done you well. But Mike is one of.
Well, this is for all my viewers out there. This is what 85 looks like, and I'll be up one more on June 22nd.
Wow. And yeah, no, who's your plastic surgeon?
Oh, it's a group.
It's a group.
One works on one half of the face, the other works on ears. It's quite a melange of expert surgeons.
Well, along with our information on how to sign up for membership, which is in chat. Oh, I didn't mention about membership. I'm sorry, I'll do quickly. This is like public television. Right now, we're doing our Zoom programs for free, like public television. We used to have monthly meetings.
Now you're on TV.
Okay, somebody's talking, so if whoever's talking can stop. We used to have our programs on monthly meet, and as many of you know, we charged for membership, and members got in free, and we would charge $5 to come to the meeting, and we'd have food samples, and we would do book sales too from our authors. So that's how we raised our funds. Right now, we're not raising any funds because of the pandemic. We're just doing these programs live for free. So if you'd care to become a member and help support us, it's $36 a year. And feel free to sign up for membership, and you can find out more about membership by clicking on chat. But anyway, I'll get to Michael Gebert's introduction. Anyway, Mike is one of Chicago's leading food writers and food media professionals. He is editor and publisher of Fooditor, Fooditor, which won a Peter Lissiger Award for Best Independent Blog in 2019. And I would recommend that you folks Google Fooditor, Fooditor, and you can sign up. It is for free. It's wonderful, gives wonderful insight into what's going on in Chicago's food world. Anyway, Peter has written, Mike has written for the Chicago Reader, Chicago Magazine, Plate, and other publications, and as video producer for the Reader's Key Ingredient Chef Challenge series. He's won a James Beard Award. He won a James Beard Award in 2011, and he's been nominated 2 other times for his video work. He's currently working on an oral history of Chicago restaurants, again, as I mentioned, for Agate Publishing. So we're honored to have you, Mike, interview Gordon, and we're honored to have Gordon. So Mike, would you take over the show? Thanks.
Okay. Welcome. Yeah, Kathy, could you just quickly put up my pictures there?
Sure.
So yes, please check out Fooditor, which looks like this.
And check out your website.
Yeah, so fooditor.com.
Did it share?
No, it did not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just keep talking. I'll make it
Okay,
share.
anyway. But I'm also working on this oral history of Chicago restaurants, and that has a page on Facebook. So if you have, if anyone wants to participate, yeah, so there's Fooditor, or thinks they would be worth interviewing. I see a couple of people I've interviewed here in the audience tonight. Look for the page, Chicago Restaurant Oral History Project. That's in lieu of having an actual name for this yet, which I don't. But that's where I kind of is a central place for now for information about, how I'm looking for people to talk to and all of that. Anyway, on to Gordon. So one of the first people that I wanted to talk to was Gordon Sinclair. You can't ever say anything is first. There's always there's always something that came before something. Actually, Al Jolson didn't even make the first sound film with the jazz singer. There's a sound film that he's in that's before that. And if that isn't true, then nothing's true, So, but I think you can safely call Gordon the restaurant and Gordon the man, an important step on the way to our modern restaurant scene. His restaurant, Gordon, kicked off a whole restaurant scene in River North, but also is kind of the beginning of new American cuisine in Chicago in the 1970s, and really began an era of, kind of see and be seen restaurants there. So that's what we're going to dive into tonight. Welcome, Gordon. And
is it time to smile?
Sure.
Okay.
So those pearly whites.
I'm on.
You are on.
I'd like to introduce Freddie.
Hello, Freddie.
He doesn't speak, but he does bark, but he won't be barking tonight because he's already been fed.
All right. Well, let's go back. So you were working for the Tribune, and we're not necessarily planning to be a restaurant person.
Right.
Tell us that story, how you got into the restaurant business.
Well, I had been working for Mr. Nixon's volunteer army back when it used to be a draft, and when he dissolved the draft and started the volunteer army, I was the head of the PR effort, working with the Department of Defense and all the military services. So and had PR people in 275 locations that I had to keep track of. Then I got wooed away by the Tribune, who had 7 people to interview me, including the late great Aaron Gold, and then it was less than a year, I believe. I'm not sure, but I think it was less than a year. I got fired. And they said the reason why I got fired was because I couldn't spell. Well, I said, pity is the man who can only spell a word one way. And it wasn't because I couldn't spell. I think it was because I wore a puff hanky in my tailored suit. And they weren't into the gay scene. They were homophobic, and so I got canned. Now that was a terrible, terrible thing to experience, and it wasn't until 2 years later that I opened up Gordon.
Now you, when you were thinking of things to do, I know you went to work for a restaurateur named Eugene Sage or Gene Sage, who had
Yes.
Mon Petit and other restaurants near the Ambassador East.
Yes.
Tell me about, and that was kind of it's a good demonstration of what the restaurant scene was like in Chicago then. What were his restaurants?
Yes, he had a very busy watering hole or saloon, we could call it, that was along East Lakeshore Drive in one of those buildings. It was called Sage's East. And I worked there just one shift. And then I was taken over to be trained as a captain in Mon Petit, which Mon Petit was across the hall from Eugene's restaurant. And it was in the, what is now the Churchill condominium. It used to be the Churchill Hotel, but yes, across the street from the Ambassador East. And in a tuxedo, so I was responsible for, I wore the wine, the sommelier's cup around. I knew nothing about wine. I'll tell you a story about that if you'd like. But I had to fillet the fish and make from scratch in a wooden bowl the Caesar salads and the salad Louis. And but I was very good using the back of a spoon to debone, get the meat of a flounder. What's the fish I'm trying to think of?
Dover sole.
Right. Yeah, the Dover sole. Thank you. Off of the bone, and you do that with a tablespoon. So I felt good at that, and the reason I asked for the job was because I thought if I'm going to open up a restaurant, I should become a waiter. Well, that's not what you should be. That's not what you should do. I could never be a waiter, actually. I was only good as a sommelier and a captain, but being a waiter, I couldn't remember anything. In fact, the story in Gordon is if I went to a table because the waiter was in the weeds and went to take the drink order, and it was a four top, let's say, and I went without a pencil and paper and took their order and went up to the bar, and then the waitress went over and said, "Can I take your drink?" Oh, Gordon already took our drink order. And she said, "Oh, she won't remember it." I didn't.
And so you connected with an investor.
Well, I formed a corporation.
Right.
And I raised, I formed a corporation and Sinclair and Associates, Inc. And I only raised, I was selling shares at $600 a share. My largest shareholder and also one of my best friends invested $6,000. So he was a major shareholder, but only $44,000. And with that $44,000, I only bought one piece of new equipment. Everything else I bought at auction or restaurants that had closed. And the piece I bought new was the 3-door Perlick refrigerator behind the bar. So it looked like first class. But if you saw everything in the back, it was pretty old, including the dishwasher.
So you wound up in River North. What was River North like then? Probably wasn't called River North yet.
Yeah, I had spent, after I left the Tribune, I had spent all that time. I'd gone to a dinner party that a friend had, and I met one of the fellows at the table, and he was going to, being an only child, he was going to invest in a restaurant downtown after he and his parents sold their grandfather's and grandmother's restaurant in Palatine that had a parking lot around it. So it was very, very, very much for banquets. And he and I would become partners. Well, then they didn't sell the restaurant. What was the peanut farmer's name? President
Carter.
Carter, and money, believe it, was climbing to 22%. So nobody could borrow money to open a restaurant. So, I mean, to buy their restaurant. So he moved to New York and opened up the stationery store. And I formed a corporation and raised money and got 44,000, and the rest is all history. But I would not have become a restaurateur in the spot that Gordon opened in 1976 had it not been for two of the fellows that were at that dinner party, John Matthias and Larry McCure. They were decorators, furniture designers, and they were the ones pushing. And they said, "Oh, we've got just the location for you. It's on Clark Street, there across from the old Gold Coast leather bar." And I said, "Oh, I know, but geez, who's going to come to that location? It's so low in the heel." So they pushed it, and I opened up between a dirty bookstore and a currency exchange in 1976 and did most of the work myself.
So Kathy, show that picture of what it looked like before Gordon got there.
Yeah, I think I had the outdoor shots of that before we expanded into the dirty bookstore. I think that was about 3 or 4 years later.
The famous 500 Lounge, was that?
Yeah,
was
that's
your-
it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's in the old St. Regis Hotel, where rooms were by the hour. Many had a hot plate. But then my landlord, Freeman, Albert Freeman, bought that building and converted it to a office building where you could rent a space or an office, which I think became very popular in the last about 10 years ago.
All right, so yeah, River North was the Clark Street flop houses then.
Yeah.
And it had, like you
The
said,
Baton.
adult bookstores and gay bars and the Baton and things like that. But there was also spillover from the merchandise mart in terms of decor businesses and things like that, which is
Big customers.
yeah. So people felt bold enough to arrive in a taxi and dash from it into Gordon.
Yes. Hold the taxi. This doesn't look good. And you could only see in. You couldn't see in through the windows. The shades were pulled. But you went through a couple flip-flop doors, and the glass pane on the heavy door was painted out, and only the letters Gordon you could look through. So come on.
Yeah, so
Because it did look pretty fabulous when you got in.
Yeah, what did it look like inside?
Say it again.
What did it look like inside?
Well, it was only 12 feet wide and 60 feet long, with the old white and black emblem, what do you call it, tile floor, and what we thought were black painted walls. Yeah, there is that. Well, that's 500.
That's the second
Clark.
Gordon.
Yeah, that was the second Gordon. But one Saturday morning, and this is unbelievable. On Saturday morning, I was down there in the cold and trying to clean the walls of the wooden, get that black paint off of there, and I couldn't do it. So I ran across the street. There used to be a paint hardware store across there on Grand, and I got some paint stripper. I put it on, and I'm talking on the phone. It was not a cell phone. We didn't have them, but it was on a long cord. And I was standing on the wall that I just put that goop on. And at the moment I put the scraper to the wall, up above the Gordon windows that we saw in the original picture there, they were all covered with plywood, and one flew open, and the sun came right down to that spot. And as I scraped it off, my God, it was rosewood. So that upscaled everything, because I was going to keep the counter and have you come in and have a cocktail at the counter and then wait for one of the 6 precious tables.
So how did people discover Gordon? How did it take off?
By the hairdressers across at the leather bar across the street who told all their customers. And so everyone got out of their chairs after their hair was done and made a reservation at Gordon.
Now, what was the food like then? I mean, I think one of the problems in talking about restaurants that were influential is that the food kind of becomes commonplace after a time because they're influential. So
Yeah.
what was it that was so exciting back then?
Well, the day that I opened, which is maybe a bad omen, was that the day I had selected a chef who was the chef in the kitchens of the French restaurant and in the Churchill Hotel in Eugene's, and so I hired him, but he quit before I opened. So already the revolving door of Gordon's kitchen began before I even opened. So, and it went on until finally, after 24 and a half years, I closed. I think it was 17 chefs. But that gave the vitality to Gordon. And I won't forget your question, I hope, that you asked. But it gave the vitality to Gordon because each new chef had to be interviewed, had to be reviewed by the press, including yourself. So, but the food was, well, I didn't have any appetizers. You either had soup or salad, and I only had one salad dressing. It's one that I got reading the, what's that rag that is 7th Avenue clothing?
Women's Wear Daily.
Yeah, Women's Wear Daily. Thank you. Women's Wear Daily, Michael. And there was a restaurant that was out at the resort area outside of New York City. So I stole that. It was an oil vinegar mustard vinaigrette, a mustard vinaigrette, and I didn't use head lettuce, and then I had 6 entrees. So you had fish, chicken. I had veal then from an organic producer in out east somewhere, and then I had the flourless chocolate cake, which John Terzak brought, and the fabulous coconut Bavarian cream with vanilla sauce or chocolate sauce, and bread pudding, and I forget. Oh, not the flourless chocolate cake. I mentioned that, but a lemon souffle, fallen souffle, not hot. It was cold, but hot butterscotch sauce, fabulous.
Well, I remember one of the things you told me was that people could get macaroni salad with their
well, I didn't. Yes, very good, Michael. I didn't have a deep fryer, so I couldn't have French fries. So if you got a hamburger, you got a macaroni salad. Well, that seemed pretty odd, but it was also, nobody criticized it. They all liked it and thought it was very novel.
Yeah. So, and it took off quickly then. I mean, you had.
Yeah, it did. The first night, I had 36 customers. That's all I remember. The first night, and then that when I lost the chef, I had to put out lunch that next day. I think it was on a Monday, and one of the things I had on the lunch menu was a Mexican omelet, which was fried beans, sour cream, and the rancho sauce, or and it was, you know, people loved it. And now I think of it, it was a damn good item to have on. But I did that. That was the 36th. Now I'm remembering. You have to, you know, this is 20 years ago when I closed, so it's 45 years ago, and I'm talking about an item on the menu. So the food was very continental at the time. Then it became more California with Jeremiah Tower's impression on the upscale restaurant business. But I tell you, it was all by the seat of the pants. I knew so little. It's amazing. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a bar bank. So I used to take all the money off the bar, all the coins, the pennies, the nickels, the dimes, and go home at probably what, 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and count that money out while I was nodding off.
Yeah.
Then I learned, no, you keep 300 on the bar. Oh, okay. And first, I think it was the first brunch or something, somebody ordered a rose, asked if we had a glass of rosé. You know, way back then, rosé was very popular. Besides Mathus was it in that clay bottle? And I didn't have any rosé, so of course I just poured white and added some red wine to it. This is very good, she said. How can I get that? I said, I don't know. We just tried a new supplier.
So, and you took over the adult bookstore.
That allowed us to have tables for two. And you have a picture up there of the poster that advertised that. Now you can get a table for two at Gordon.
So everybody had to, it was a four top, you had to go with another couple?
Yeah, you had to get another couple. Can you imagine? Oh, we don't have tables for two. You have to get another couple. Well, it sounds really arrogant, but it was just practical. I only had 60 seats. You had to make it on 60 seats, and boy, did we ever. I'm sitting here in this opulent heirloom sofa because that first $90,000 that we made in the first 6 months, I think I opened in July. By the end of the year, I had $90,000 profit, and I invested it in a employee benefit program. So that was a smart move 25 years later.
Yeah. Now, eventually you moved to a second location. What was the reason behind that?
Well, Al Friedman had bought the Jerry's hot dog stand that was on the corner across the street from the leather bar, which is called the Gold Coast. And he built a 4-story building without an elevator, and encouraged me to move down there and expand. And, you know, I really was limited by, even though with the expansion into the bookstore, I had 90 seats. And then we had a music lounge where we served overflow on the weekends. And we needed more space. In fact, we had rented the back of we rented the back of where the Dirty Bookstore moved across the alley, which that place became Alexander's. We rented so we could have the kitchen, and we did all our prep in there because I didn't, well, you can imagine on a Friday, I didn't have a walk-in cooler. So we stuffed everything into a 4-door Hurlick, which on Friday, you had to stuff it in there to close the door. And I don't know how we made it, but you were asking what kind of food. Everything had a sauce, Michael, everything. So very pretentiously, I would go down the line before we opened with a handful of spoons. Very good, very good. Oh, needs a little salt. I don't know what I was talking about, but it seemed to be agreed upon by the chef, who was John Turzak at that time.
So the same approach that you took to wine was.
Yes, oh yes. Well, this couple came in and had a prime booth at Eugene's and asked to have a wine to go with their. And my God, I don't know how this happened, but I ordered a Sauterne. That's an after dinner Sauterne. Right. I don't think it was Chateau Yquem, but anyhow, it was terrible. But they loved it. Oh, this is really good, and I didn't think anything
I'm sure it was
about
all
it.
different for them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
sure is. I also got very thirsty working. I wore that tuxedo out, and you work all those tables and do all that tableside service. I always had a moist forehead. So anybody who didn't finish their wine, excuse me, particularly their white wine or champagne, it went back to Captain Gordon.
So what was the crowd like at Gordon in that time when it was so popular?
Well, now keep in mind we opened in July, so the crowd was very. I don't know. Maybe some of your viewers will remember Paul Glick, who was probably the #1 hairstylist, or certainly in the top 5 in Chicago. And once, and Paul was gay and knew the restaurant was opening, as every gay house hairdresser knew, and sent their customers in there. That's where they all came from. So they were from Highland Park to just the center of town. And yeah, I think they were. We didn't, there was only one magazine when I opened Gordon, and that was Gourmet. So the food culture was much different there. And in Chicago, we only had, other than Eugene's and that Mon Petit, and we had A.B. Dick's restaurants, and we had Louis Sathmeyer, who was teaching us how to cook a turkey inside of a paper bag. And so when Gordon opened with only Gourmet, and then Bon Appetit came on and gave us a nice featured article or something in there. But the first really kickoff was by the Tribune, no picture. And the article, I think it was in the Sunday paper, and it said a little touch of New York City. No, little touch of New York City. Well, that was Gordon. So that they came flying in after that. And I remember when we opened, when we had a brunch, and the Sunday Tribune had done the whole front page of the the food section on brunch restaurants, and there with the Pump Room and all the famous places, and there above the fold was Gordon. Well, we're in there shining glasses and running around getting ready. And I went out to open the door and put open something on the blinds to let light in. And I looked out, oh my God, there was a line outside. And I walked out and I said, hi everyone. Gee, I'm sorry, but if you don't have a reservation, we're totally booked. Oh, the groan was painful, but that's what it was. And on that same day, I was somehow behind the bar, opening a bottle of champagne. And you hold your thumb on it so the cork doesn't pop. Whatever I didn't do, that cork popped up and hit the square glass, vitrolite white glass ceiling, and that glass came trickling down into the ice bin. So you couldn't make any drink because you couldn't use the ice. So some busboy brought a tub of ice from our leased ice machine in the back, and we survived.
So 20 some years, and then you decide to go out with a bang in 1999. Tell me about the last night.
Well, yeah, I was 65. I had bought myself a Bulgari gold watch in New York. I thought, am I going to go on saying this way, please? So, and also a restaurant business was shrinking. The Sears Tower had moved out of town, and that was a big business because all those buyers would come into Gordon. So that happened, and competition. Rick Bayless opened up across the street with his Frontier Grill and Topolobambo, and all else that was going on in town. So I decided to close. I didn't sell it. I had opportunities to sell it that would have been very nice to have, but I didn't need to have that money. And also, they all included my staying for a year, and I didn't feel comfortable being a shill or working for someone else. So I said, we're going to close, and it was black tie. It was a set menu, and it was dancing and a trio and a singer, and we really decorated for New Year's. We had gold lame hanging from all those draperies, and white and silver balloons with sparkling mylar tethers hanging from them. We had hundreds of balloons, so the place just looked sparkling with the tethers. The spotlights in Gordon that illuminated the curtains were all focused on the glitter, and so it was a big night. And I wore my kilt. I said goodbye to everyone, and everyone got a Gordon plate. Do you have that? Do you have that? No, you don't have that. I have that. I could show it to you. It says the last great meal of the century was eaten off of this plate. And you also got a little white flashlight, and it said on the side of it, Gordon, last one out, turns off the lights. And everyone got that, and it was yeah, that's right. So it was a wonderful and exhausting night. We were set up with tables even in the basement. Well, we called it the lower level.
So what do you see as the influence that actually, before I ask a summing up question like that, let's talk about people who worked at Gordon over the years or at your other restaurants. Carrie Nahabedian took over the space to make the second space to be Naha.
Yeah.
Tell me about her.
I didn't. Was that a question?
Yes, about Carrie.
Well, she ran my garde manger in Lake Forest at Sinclair's, where Norman Van Aken was the chef. So I brought them down I brought Carrie down. Well, first I brought Norman down to Sinclair's Ocean Grill in Jupiter, Florida. And then after Norman finished that gig, he went back to Key West and went into business. And he's authored several books, and still speaks nicely of me.
Yeah, I mean, he's sort of, he's the father of, new Florida cuisine.
Yes.
And you had a bit of that here when he was working for you?
No, I can't say I did. I wouldn't know how to explain new Florida cuisine other than a lot of red snapper.
Yeah.
No, he was very good. Of all the chefs I had, he certainly, well, he wasn't a chef at Gordon, but he was easy to work with and a gentleman. I can't say that about some, but I will speak of others because a couple have died in traffic, in accidents or health or whatever. So I can speak about a few of them.
Okay. Yeah, I know one who's passed away is Keith Korn.
Yes, he passed away in a driving somebody's borrowed Corvette out in the East Coast. He was a lot of fun, and his food was good. His chowders were excellent. He was fun. He was very lively and didn't steal too much. But I learned after from those who knew he was going out the back door with some of my steaks. But I did have an honest bartender at Gordon for many, many years, and I actually was very naive. I trusted everyone. I didn't suspect. I wasn't. I guess I was just oblivious. You know, when you're running something by the seat of your pants, you sometimes just have to breathe to keep alive.
Right. And then there was a kid named Charlie Trotter who got his start.
What was that name again?
Charlie Trotter.
Oh yes,
Chuck.
yes.
Trotter.
That tumbler. No, not tumbler. He was he did the Poma and the parallel bars, and yeah, he was an athlete. Well, he was a busboy at Sinclair's when Norman and Carrie were in the kitchen, and I didn't know him, and certainly didn't know him as Charlie Trotter. I don't even think I knew him as Charlie. I don't think I knew him. And I had people working for me, and I have to confess, they worked for me for many years as a busboy, or not a waiter, but as a back waiter or something. Or even employees in the case. I didn't know their name. I wish now that I had spent the time that I did when I lived in Mexico for 5 years. I would have had a great appreciation and would have been more attuned to speaking some Spanish. And but I was always nice to them, particularly when I taught the non-English speaking Mexican dishwashers, who I loved doing that because I love dishwashing. It's just such a wonderful Zen experience of everything so dirty and grimy and coming out so beautiful and clean. Yes, I am an authority on how to wash dishes. First of all, you have to teach your staff to scrape the garbage and stack them according to salad dishes, entree dishes, and then we teach the dishwasher. You don't load those racks with just anything. You keep all dinner plates, so when they come out, you take out the hot dinner plates, you bring them to the line, and they go out hot. Because we had a great turnover in China. So you new restaurateurs out there, you have to have three inventories. One in the kitchen, one and two in the storage room. So you had to have backups, and I learned that. I learned a lot, particularly after the garde-manger person in the original Gordon didn't show up. So I called my cleaning lady, who was working at my apartment on Fullerton, and said, "Come down here, I need your help." And she came in. She, of course, didn't know anything, but I had to have somebody, and she got mixed up between the salad dressing, which was a mustard vinaigrette, and the creme anglaise. The creme anglaise, one lunch, went out on the salads, and nobody complained.
That's new American cuisine to me.
Well, that's that Gordon new stuff, you know. Oh, isn't it shameful?
All right, well, let's go to some questions. Do people have questions? Kathy, how does that work?
Now you said hi, and I just say hi to her.
You say hi to her?
I said hi to her first.
Well, she's a courteous person.
Hi, somebody's talking. We can hear you.
Hello?
Any case, Yes, people, if you want, I didn't ask anybody to put it into chat, so perhaps they could just unmute themselves and ask a question. And in fact, I have a question.
Go for it, Kathy.
Okay,
Yes, Kathy.
Did you own a farm out in Marengo area?
Well, I owned a farm in McHenry County in Harvard. So I used to tell my customers on Saturday night when I would leave to go to the farm after the last seating in Gordon, saying I was going to Harvard this weekend.
Oh, that's cute. So here's
Going
my
back
question.
to Harvard. I made that so they thought God, he must be is he a Harvard graduate?
Well, I remember reading about your farm and that some of
Yes.
the things were grown to be used in your restaurant.
Oh yeah, we
And
grew
I was-
all the organics. Yes, it was wonderful. There's nothing better than a Gordon organic tomato. One of seven colors of tomatoes: the yellow, the black, the red, etc., and some fresh arugula and corn on the cob. Oh, come on. $8 I got for that dish of Gordon tomatoes, sliced tomatoes. We cut the skin, we dipped them in hot water and took the skins off. That was a Gordon-esque sort of thing.
You don't want people to get their gums.
Well, you can't chew a skin of a tomato. And when I would turn those tomatoes under for the fall, that spring, those skins were still there.
Oh, I believe that. So
They
here's
didn't. Yeah.
here's the question. In addition to that, you had the farm. It's a pet theory of mine, and I could be totally wrong. But a lot of these farmers that are now feeding into the different farmers markets are from Marengo and Harvard and that area.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you were perhaps an influencer in getting them to come into the Chicago market.
I can't answer that. I don't know. It was sort of a breathless pursuit to do that picking on Monday and Tuesday and then drive in. I would take Sunday and Monday off in the restaurant and come in on Tuesday with in my station wagon, all that fresh stuff. And it was, I don't know, because although I did deliver some things to Charlie, I couldn't keep up with it, and I could only deliver once a week. So you need to have steady purveyors, and I wasn't looking to make that a business.
No, I was just wondering if some of the neighbor farms observed what you were doing and thought, going to the Chicago market might be something to do.
Well, I never know the impact, Kathy, because, when I was they did a feature on me in the Chicago Tribune with big colored pictures of me on a tractor and the picture of the house and a swimming pool and the tennis court and whatever. Well, people were driving by on the weekends like a place to go, and there he is. Hey, there he is in the hat, straw hat. So I thought I better get my bib
It became a
overalls
tourist
on.
attraction.
I better get my bib overalls on and make this more believable.
Something that, if I may just break it
Get
one
warm
second,
in here.
Sure.
what you did, Gordon, at the farm, we go to Farm and Fleet and buy overalls and those big work boots, those big yellow work boots. And that's what you would dress up in at the farm, because people were there. People would drive by, but you literally
Yes.
bought the outfits because we went shopping for them. And then they turned into and then the boots that you wore on the farm turned into a group of people from Chicago that frequent Aspen started wearing them for their après ski boots. And it turned very fast.
Oh, the impact that man
Yes,
had.
the impact you had. That's just one off. And people did. They loved the farm because they thought there was so much coming in from the farm to the restaurant. And that was very new back then. The only other person doing that was Bert in Berkeley.
I think I was the first to do that.
I
But
think That's all right.
I sent you all a list of the first of Gordon because we were the first to do half portions. In fact, the staff hated it. They thought all their tips are going to be cut in half because people would only order a half a portion. But instead, excuse me, they ordered half fish and a half lamb. So the ticket averages actually went up. And then everyone thought I was a great prophet. But I like to eat that way. I like to, when I go out back in the old days, when I would go out, I would order only off the appetizer list. I didn't want an entree. I didn't want that much. I wanted little of this and a little of that. So, and I still eat that way. As you can see.
Mike, it's Ina. Mike, it's Ina. Can I have a second?
Sure.
Gordon, it's Ina, and I want you to know Paul
Ina,
was, hi, darling.
Ina, the
Paul,
breakfast queen.
You know, you came into my restaurant one day and you were sitting at table 12 and you saw me come up the aisle and you got down on one knee and you said, Your Highness.
Oh, I don't think so.
Yes,
I don't
you
remember
did.
that.
You did. Yeah, trust me. I took a picture of it because
what was I drinking? What was I drinking? What did you goose me up with?
I wasn't sure you'd be able to get up. That was why I took the picture.
You sound like a 25-year-old co-ed.
So I want to talk to you. So I want you to know a couple things. I felt so glamorous when I came to Gordon. I mean, it was so elegant. It just made you feel better than you had felt in any other restaurant. But mostly what I learned from you was hospitality. There was something about that restaurant that made you feel like you were the only one that mattered. Oh, and that was a sense of hospitality that is missing in so many places. But you definitely set the standard. So thanks, my friend.
Oh, thank you. It's wonderful to hear you. I can't see anything because this light is in my eyes.
Trust me, I look great.
Oh, you're fabulous wherever you are.
Thank you, darling. I'm so happy to see you.
Thank you.
All right, so there's a question in the chat that I think this is an important issue that we need to get to the bottom of. Did you think up the idea of crushed ice in the urinal? That seems like something that's existed in restaurants.
No, I didn't have urinals.
Okay.
No, what I did have, because I didn't, in opening Gordon, I was huffing and puffing. I didn't know what I was doing. But I didn't have a sign that said male and female. So the bathrooms were just there. And they were painted out in white, semi-gloss, fabulous. And that first night we opened, somebody wrote on the wall. And that next day I painted it over and covered it up. And then the weekend it got hit. And then I just forgot it. And it became, the bathrooms became a graffiti university. You could go in there and read things in the first going, because it changed after the politics changed in the war, the Vietnam. And there are two things I remember that written on the wall that I think still make me giggle today. One was, Jimmy Hoffa, call your office. And the other one was, I'm 8 inches long and 3 inches wide. Are you interested? And somebody wrote after, how big is your penis? That's all, folks.
Ina says, writing on the wall was the first Twitter.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. There you go. I never thought of that. Yes, I guess it was. So but then I painted it all out. And when I started again, and when I moved to 500, it wasn't nice. It was mean. And so I didn't have, well, I had just that that pine wood that had been the surface in Gordon number 2, and I had copper sinks, and I closed just in time because the Mexican responsible for cleaning the copper sink was using something abrasive, and it began to wear right through the copper sink in the last week of our aliveness.
All right, so Judith Hines has a question. I see that this is a burning question. Someone else brought it up too. The artichoke fritters. What's the story of the famous artichoke fritters?
Well, yes, that was John Terzak, and they used to cost $2.95. It was the trick to making those fritters is that one, you take the artichoke in a can of artichoke fritters, but you have to get the water squeezed out of them. They have to, because if you keep the water, it's got to get the water out, because when you put them in the hot oil, if there's so much water in the artichoke, it will expand and they won't be crispy. So, and then a good béarnaise sauce. So we were making béarnaise sauce all night long. And boy, in the summer, it wasn't until I got one of those that would save it. I forget what you call it, but boy, that saved. I think it was even a chargeable, so I didn't have a cord on it, but I could get the béarnaise sauce back. Yeah, everybody loved them, and you couldn't make the price higher. They still would buy them. Same with the chocolate cake, because when you're running a restaurant, you don't want everyone to order the same thing. You want them to order all the desserts.
Right.
So I remember when I increased the price, of the flourless chocolate cake that had a dollop of unsweetened whipped cream. I think I moved it from $6.50 to $8.50, and that doesn't seem like anything now, but back then, I remember my manager saying, "Oh God, nobody will buy them at that price." Oh God, they sold more. Nobody, because when you went to Gordon and your next day you tell your friends that you went to Gordon, they'll say, "Oh, did you have the artichoke fritters? Or did you have the flourless chocolate cake?"
Yeah. What else was were the draws that people always wanted to have?
Well, those two things were primary. I don't think, just the flourless chocolate cake and the artichoke fritters. So for 24 years, I served both of those items.
Yeah.
And the worst thing that happened to me in my career, one of the worst, was when at what was it? The city of Chicago, Taste of Chicago. Well, I hadn't participated in it until the time that I did. And then we designed a beautiful all white floor, and we were doing the flourless chocolate cake. But then the Chicago food inspectors came by and said, "You can't keep that cake out here. You have to put that in a cooler." Do you know what happens when you put? I didn't know that it would be this bad, but we put them in the back of the refrigerated truck that we'd brought everything down in. And that, I remember I gave somebody a piece and they took a bite, and over the trash, they spit it out and put it in the trash. You can't eat after it's refrigerated, it just becomes congealed. It's, well, I regret that happened. I should not have done what they asked. I should have been arrested instead. That would have been good for publicity.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anyone?
Gordon,
I'm going to be, if this doesn't end soon, I'm going to be drunk.
Yeah. Gordon, I have a question. Your parties, you used to get professional costumes, like from the Lyric Opera. And the ballet.
Well, that's when we did
your
the
special parties. Can you talk about that? Maybe what was your favorite?
Well, we did.
Pictures?
That's an interesting thing, but nobody knows about that unless you were there that night, because no member of the press was at Gordon on New Year's Eve or on our anniversary. So on the on our 20, let me see, 23, 20. Oh, on the 22nd, 22,
birthday, yeah.
They had me doing La Dame Tutu L'Amour in 4.5 minutes of Swan Lake with the London Symphonic Orchestra, and Gordon doing the Swan with 3 dancers in their fabulous silver and white Nutcracker ballet outfits. They look fabulous with the silver epaulets, and so she danced. Oh God, was that a terror? I thought my mouth was so dry I thought I'd swallow my tongue. And I had a tattoo that they had stuffed chicken feathers into. So when I came out of the kitchen, which was the stage, and I could only dance on a carpet. I couldn't dance on the floor. And I thought I could do all this. Can you imagine? I thought I could do this in toe shoes, but and I had a pair of them on. I couldn't even stand up with my arms around 2 people. So I did it in ballet slippers, and it was very, very, very difficult because I couldn't remember what was next. You know, in the 4.5 minutes, but somehow I did the night before, and not a lot of people wanted their picture taken with me. But when I became Queen Elizabeth I on the to be or not to be, that is the anniversary, 2-3 or not to be. So it was the 23rd. I was Queen Elizabeth I, and that gown that had 50 pounds of leaded, whatever it was really heavy. I was Queen Elizabeth I. I had a hair with the hair salon did little circles in it like she had, with pearls hanging in those little crevices. And I came out as to knight Gordon, Sir Gordon, this Scottish restaurateur. And we had a throne and a velvet background, and she came out to the trumps blaring, and ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Her Royal Majesty, Queen Elizabeth I. Oh hell, it was. She got in the throne, and then she knighted Gordon, who was one of my waiters who came up from the back, so they couldn't tell it wasn't me. And she then got up, and after knighting me and the music from the trumpets blaring, it went into who was it singing Dancing Queen. So everyone wanted to have the picture taken with the Queen. And the Queen's lady in waiting was a black person who handed out in her little basket, she handed everyone a sucker.
Gail Gand has a question.
Gail Gand?
Yes.
Oh, hi, Gail.
She asked about the Obama's engagement at Gordon, which I did not know about.
Oh, I forgot. Oh, yes. Well, they sat at table 40, which was a show table. I did not know he was who he was, because he wasn't who he is. He was a senator from an Illinois state. So, but they were a very attractive couple. I was very impressed. I didn't know who he was, and I don't even remember. I don't think I even went to the table at least I don't remember it, even though I it wasn't because I would be intimidated. It was maybe because each time I was free to do that, their mouth was full. But yes, she mentioned it in her book. I'm just reading his book. I thought it was here, but it's in the other room, which is wonderful. 900 pages of really well written. He's a good storyteller, well written, and yeah, I've even had my eyes water up, and I'm only 150 pages in.
Okay. Any other questions? And then I think we'll finish this up before Gordon has too much more of his champagne.
There's never too much champagne.
I can tell of a really funny experience. I was with a young family, my family at the time, in the very early 80s, and the youngest of 3 children was just trying to read. And Gordon was standing quite nearby looking magnificently dapper when my son said very audibly for the whole restaurant, "What are shit cake mushrooms?"
Oh, and where is he today?
He is a surgical veterinarian in Minnesota, but we tell that story so much. And you were absolutely gallant. I mean, you acted like, well, everyone says that.
I don't remember. Yes, I'm told stories no matter where I go in the world. Somehow I've always run into somebody who yes, that's Gordon, I am. And amazing stories, just wonderful and amazing stories. We have to remember the people who came into Gordon in 1976 with their credit cards. And I didn't take credit cards actually when I first opened Gordon. I only took cash until Neiman Marcus came in. What was his name? Not Neiman Marcus. Was it Marcus? Anyhow, Richard Marcus. Anyhow, he said, Gordon, you have to take credit cards. So I did. I do what they tell me to. And of course, it was true. I should take credit cards. I don't know what possessed me there, but I didn't have I didn't get around to having the setup. You have to have, you had to scan those cards and send in all those chits. And
all right. Well, thank you for talking with us, and thanks to everyone who attended.
And I suppose the check is in the mail?
The check is in the mail, yes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for having such a glamorous restaurant, Gordon.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And people did show up to Gordon for the fritters and for you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Ma.
Good night, babe.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'm off.
Thank you, Gordon.
You're welcome, darling.
It's Gail. Hi.
Oh, Gail, where are you?
I didn't want to interrupt. Well, on my screen, I'm, right at the top, but I don't know where I am in your screen.
Can you see me? Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
good.
in Chicago.
How do I look?
So
How do I look?
I was wondering if you had blush on. You look terrific. You look
Actually,
very healthy.
I'm blushing because I've had, let me see, how much is this bottle? Oh, I'm beyond the half.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, darling. I love you.
Great to see you. I love you too. Thank you. so much. Bye. Thanks for doing this.
I can't believe you don't have a flute with your Moet.
No, we don't drink out of flutes anymore, darling.
I do.
No, this is the glass. This
You can't get enough. You can't get enough in them. That's
no,
why
you
we don't
can't get
drink out of
enough in the
flutes.
flute. But the reason we changed to this is so you could smell it. And I read that somewhere. It wasn't in Women's Wear Daily. I don't read that anymore. But this is the shape. I don't remember where I got those, but I have plenty of them because I broke one to begin with tonight. Gail Gang. Oh my. I'm so happy to see you. You look fabulous.
You too. Oh,
You look like somebody coming out of first year at college.
yeah, I look like a child. I can't get a haircut because of COVID. Are those Riedel? Yeah, you don't need one. Are your glasses Riedel? Is that what that is?
Oh no, I don't have anything expensive.
Oh,
That's Charlie Trotter. No, no, no. Although I used to have, and I have cases of them in storage, those Libby glasses that had that lip on them, you know, the lip so you didn't break them.
Well, and you could sugar them much better.
Oh,
Because it was wide.
Well, we know a lot of things, don't we? Yes, yes.
I'm afraid so.
Now let's see what I look like when I turn this light out.
And the other people where it says everyone.
Yeah,
your
I
name
know,
comes
that's
up.
okay.
All right, I'm gonna sign off and go take care of my kid.
Enter.
Okay, how old are they?
They're 6. Well, Gio's 25, but I don't take care of him. I don't take care of him anymore. But my twins are 16, and
fabulous.
One is in France for the year, going to school there.
Oh, wonderful.
She's not even here, but she can go like to school in a building there. And the one that's here is remote and just in her bedroom.
Oh, how wonderful. Gee, I have a friend, I have a cousin who's in Paris as a au pair.
Oh, yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. She's been there for a couple of years. She changed her last name to Sinclair, and from Emmerich. Emmerich.
Where is our...
My sister's last name when she got married.
In the fridge.
Well, it's been a pleasure, everyone.
Thank
I'll
you.
sign off and say good night.
Thank you for giving us your evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Gordon.
Thank
I've
you.
known Gordon since high school, so enjoyed it, Gordon.
Mike, that was terrific. You did it very well.
Thank you. The giant hand comes in.
Yes.
Oh, here I am. I'm trying to figure out how I turn this off.
You're doing okay.
You're still talking. I can't figure out how to.
Well, that means the jokes and the stories continue on just a little bit longer.
There's nothing left. I have a food sensitivity problem, and I'm itching from something I ate. And plus I'm sweating because of the champagne and the grueling you all did.
Oh,
you did everything but waterboard me. Okay, I guess that's.
There we go. All right, thank you. Good night.
Hey, Mike, thanks again. See you soon. Whatever that means in this context.